Hi everyone, welcome to Belle's Books. I'm Carly and today I'm talking to you about the Booker Prize 2022 long list. Now, the Booker Prize is a prize that I have only ever kind of just loosely kept an eye on, a bit like this. I've only followed it like, oh, I'll see what's on there, I'll see what wins, but I've never really read, like gone full throttle, read along with it. Until this year, when I have been caught up in the hype of the Booker Boy Discord. So in Kieran's Discord, which you may be familiar with, if not, I will drop a link to it in the description box below, is a place where a lot of people from BookTube talk about Booker, and I've just got caught up in the momentum of it. And there are quite a few books on the long list that I am very interested in. I didn't do a predictions of Booker because I never can predict it. The only one that I thought might be on there and that was because other people in the Discord were talking about it. So let's go through the list. I'm going to tell you which ones I'm definitely planning on reading, which ones I might read, and which ones I'm definitely not going to. So I'm going to go through the list as it is on their website. I've got it up in front of me. The Colony by Audrey Magee. If I don't have the books, I'll put a picture. Oh, I'm in an odd place today. I'll put a picture somewhere on the screen. The Colony by Audrey Magee is a book that I have heard a lot of good things about from other people on BookTube. It is set on a very small island off the coast of Ireland. I had to say it like that, even though I don't say it like that. It's about two characters. I think that is an English and a French person go to visit this very small island. Both are kind of artistic types. So one I think is a painter and the other is a linguist, and they are looking at making something from their visit. So one wants to paint the landscape and one wants to I think write about or translate the Irish language, because it's one of the only places that is where the Irish language is still spoken. So big themes in this book about colonisation, loss of cultural identity, that kind of thing. It's supposed to be very beautifully written and very kind of emotionally wrought. So I've heard so many good things about it. I definitely want to read it. Haven't got a copy of it yet though. I'm kind of reluctant to buy it in hardback because I have bought some books already, but if you're buying a lot of these books that are brand new out, it's expensive, right? So it's not available at my library at the moment. I'm going to put a request in that they buy it. I'm sure they would do anyway. Generally, when prize lists drop, it takes a while for the stock teams to catch up. I work in a library, so they generally will order all of the books on the long list, but it just takes a while for them to come through, and it hasn't come through yet. So that one I'm hoping to get from the library. I would really like to listen to an audio because I've heard very good things about the audiobook as well, but again, not available on my library apps yet. So that's the first one. The second one, just to say also, a lot of these books I had never heard of before. Had heard of some of them, again, mostly through the Booker Boy Discord, but one that I had not heard of, and I bought it immediately because it sounds exactly like my kind of book, is After Sappho by Selby Schwartz, published by Gallybeggar Press, which is a favourite publisher of mine, because they published Girl is a Half Formed Thing, which I'm writing my PhD thesis on, and Duck's Noob Report by Lucy Ellman. They champion kind of experimental works, which I'm very much here for. That's my love. So After Sappho is a book which is like a fictionalised reimagining of various female characters throughout history that are kind of like trailblazers. So we've got Virginia Woolf, which is immediately I want to read this because I'm writing about Virginia Woolf for my thesis. Sarah Bernhardt, Colette, some of these people I've never heard of. So Josephine Baker, absolute legend. So I'm so excited about this. Also, it's told in vignettes. I love a vignette. Yes, perfect format for me. So I think it just moves through different time periods. I don't think it's linear. I think it goes backwards and forwards. Again, exactly my cup of tea. And I think what she's doing is just taking these characters and reimagining them. So that's all I need to know. I don't need to know any more than that. Perfect. Right, then we have Glory by NoViolet Bulawayo, which I originally thought, no, I don't think I want to read that. But now I'm not so sure. The more I hear about these books, the more I think I want to read most of them. So this is kind of a new Animal Farm. It's been compared to Animal Farm because the characters are all animals, and it is satire looking at the coup that happened in Zimbabwe. I'm not sure of the time period because my history is rubbish, but it's looking at that kind of theme of colonization and the taking of power and the maintaining of power, all told through animals. So it does sound interesting. Also, I am going to be reading Animal Farm very soon, again for context research for my PhD. So this might be an interesting one to follow up with, but it's not high up on my list. If it gets shortlisted, then maybe I'll read it. Okay, what's next? Then we have, Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, which I had on my radar anyway. I'd heard lots of good things about. I have reserved it from my library, so I'm waiting for that reserve to come in. This is a very small book. I think it's only 116 pages. It is, again, another Irish fiction set. I've forgotten the time when it's set. But it's about this character, Bill, who is making a delivery to a convent. And I think it's to do with like the Magdalene laundries and all the bad shit that went down when nuns were treating pregnant women very badly. So I think it's like a moral dilemma. What does this character do when he finds out what's happening in this convent? And apparently it's very poetically written and very beautifully rendered. So I'm here for this. I have recently read a short story by Claire Keegan called Foster, which I was studying as part of a creative writing course recently, and I absolutely adored it. It absolutely broke my heart. So I can imagine this will do the same thing. I'm very much here for that. So I'm just waiting for the library loan to come in, and I will be reading that as soon as I can. Right, then we have some books I actually own. Nightcrawling by Leila Mottley. Can you believe I got this copy off Depop for £4? I'm still amazed. Anyway, this is a debut novel by a woman who is 20 years old, and that makes me feel very old and wasteful with my life. This is a story set in, where is it set? I think it's California. It's somewhere in America. I'm not sure, but it's about 17-year-old Kiara, who is living with her, my ring light is reflected in this book, who is living with her brother. They are both kind of teenagers trying to look after themselves. Their parents are absent, I'm not quite sure why, but they are trying to get enough money to live by, and it's difficult because their rent is going up. I think there's like gentrification going on or something. And so she turns to sex work to like supplement their income to basically help them live. And the premise of this story is based on a real life happening where a sex worker was, I think, propositioned and abused by the police that she was arrested by. So there was obviously abuse of power going on there. So it's based on that real life story. So I'm really intrigued by this. I was going to pick it up anyway. I heard so many good things about this as well. I have just started this and I am struggling a little bit. Like, I'm literally only 9 pages in. I'm struggling a little bit with the writing style. This author is a poet, and you can tell immediately because the writing is kind of very poetic, and it's not that I'm not gelling with it. It's just that I'm like, oh, okay, this is a very new kind of prose style, and I just need to work my way into it because I'm very excited about this, so I do want to carry on with it. So I have high hopes for this. Okay, then we have Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer. I haven't taken off this sticker yet. I was alerted to this book again by the Booker Buy Discord because everyone was talking about it. The reason I bought this is because it is an experimental novel. It plays with form, which, as you know, is my jam. So the prose is You've got lots of white space on the page, lots of experimentation with typography. Oh, I love this. When letters trickle down the page. Perfect. So I'm again hoping that I might be able to reference this in my thesis. Basically anything I read, I try and shove it into my PhD. So I'm hoping to be able to reference this in my PhD at some point. It is about a mother-daughter relationship, and I think the mother has cancer, so it's about them and navigating what's happening to her. And it is also from the perspective of the cancer in her body, which is a very interesting premise. I really like the use of unusual narration, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out, and looking at the formal experimentation as well. So those are the books that I have got physical copies of. The next one, Case Study by Graeme Macrae Burnet, I am listening to on audiobook. I will insert a picture here. Now, I hadn't intended to pick this up. I was like, nah, I'm not that bothered. But when I was looking through my library apps, there are two that I use. There's BorrowBox and Libby, where you can get free ebooks and audiobooks from your library if you're based in the UK. And I was just seeing what they had on the Booker long list, and this was the only one they had. So I thought, fine, I'll listen to it. Oh my God, I am absolutely hooked. I was hooked after the first, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of listening to it. It is a story about a psychologist. I think it's 1960s it's set, and it's about this woman who goes to visit this psychologist on the premise that she thinks he encouraged her sister to kill herself. So there's like a dual narrative. There's the narrative of the young girl who's going to see him. It's written from her perspective. She kept notebooks when she was going to visit him. So these are like notebooks that she made about these visits, and it's from her perspective. It's her kind of internal musings as well. It's also divided with biographical research from Graeme Macrae Burnet about this psychologist, Colin Spraithwaite. It's a made-up character, but I really like that premise where it kind of blurs the line a little bit, because at the beginning of the book there's a preface saying, this is my research about this guy, and it's kind of interspersed with these notebooks from this woman. So I really like the setup when there's like, it's set up as non-fiction, but obviously it's a novel. Anyway, I'm totally absorbed in this book. I've got an hour and a half left. I won't like talk masses about it now, other than that I'm really enjoying it. The audiobook is so good. I'm just like, I want to listen to it all the time. I keep going down the allotment to water and to weed just so I can listen to the audiobook. Also, it does have aspects of factual information in it. More specifically, the anti-psychiatry movement of the 60s, which I wasn't particularly familiar with. And off the back of this, I went out yesterday to Waterstones and bought The Divided Self by R.D. Laing, because this psychologist in this book is talking about the idea of the self, and how it's not just one person, it's split into like kind of multiple personalities, and it's talking about a little bit about schizophrenia and that kind of thing. Again, which I am writing about in my PhD. I don't know whether I'm just trying too hard, or whether it just feels like the universe is saying, hey, do you want to put all of these books in your PhD? Yes, I do. So I bought this because I'd heard of R.D. Laing before. I'd never really looked into it or any of his work, but reading about it in this other book, I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm writing about. So I picked this up. Anyway, we'll let you know how I get on with that. The other one that I have ordered that hasn't come in yet is Treacle Walker by Alan Garner. Again, I'd never heard of Alan Garner. I didn't know anything about this book. The blurb doesn't give much away. It just says that there is a young boy in this village. I think it's rural England. Again, I'm not sure when it's set. Should have looked that up. But a rag and bone man comes along and they strike up a friendship. It's based very much in folklore. I think there's a bit of, I don't know whether there's magic realism, but the more I've heard about this book, the more I want to read it. When I originally heard about the premise, it gave me vibes of Lanny by Max Porter. This figure of, you know, like almost like a John Barleycorn vibe. It was giving me a John Barleycorn vibe, like English folklore, the Green Man kind of aspect, and I am down for that. I love it so much. I always want to read stories about that. So yeah, that one I'm really intrigued by. It's a very slim novel, so hopefully it shouldn't take too long. And also it's apparently about the physics of time, and that just sounds amazing to me. That is everything I want in a book. Folklore, the Green Man, stuff about time. I'm here for it. Yes, please. Then we have The Trees by Percival Everett. This is a kind of a murder mystery. It's in America. I can never remember where things are set when they're in America. Mississippi, there you go. It's set in Mississippi around some murders that are happening. Of each time a body is found, a second body is found of a black man who resembles what's his name, Emmett Till, who was a young man that was lynched in the 60s. Was it the 60s? I don't know. So there is a kind of a magic realism to this book. The premise really intrigues me. I love a bit of supernatural vibe, and it's a murder mystery, and obviously commentary on racism and in the deep south of America. So I'm just really intrigued by this. No, I was going to buy it yesterday. I was in Waterstones. I did pick it up. I was like, I really shouldn't, because I bought so many already. But that one I really do want to get to. Then there is Trust by Hernan Diaz, which I wasn't bothered about. But again, the more I hear about it, maybe I will. If I can get this on audio, I might pick it up. It's set in the 20s, I think, and it is about a kind of a power couple that are rich and privileged, and it's about them and how they got there. And there's something to do with a novel, or is it? Yeah, 1938 novel that all of New York seems to have read. So New York in the 20s, the glitz and the glamour. Again, I'm here for that. I really like that setting. The premise does intrigue me. But yeah, maybe if it's shortlisted, I will read it. But it's not at the top of my list. Then we have The Seven Moons of Maali Almeida by Shahan Karunatilaka. Oh, I probably butchered that name. This has only just come out. The cover is beautiful. And I'm not sure about this. It's set in 1990. A photographer is murdered, and he finds himself kind of in an afterlife kind of place where he's given the chance to contact two people that he loves the most to get them some information. I think it's to do with Sri Lankan history. So I don't know, I'm not that bothered about it. Again, if it's shortlisted, I might pick it up. I'm waiting for more reviews to come in to see what people think about that. I've never read anything by a Sri Lankan author, so that would be good, but the premise I'm not that bothered about. Then we have Oh William by Elizabeth Strout, which I'm not bothered about reading that one, because I thought I'd read Lucy Barton. I haven't. I read the collection of short stories Anything is Possible, and I did really enjoy them. I read that for my book club, which is set in the town where Lucy Barton grows up. So Oh William is the third in a kind of not really a trilogy. It's very loose. It's like the same characters. I think you can read it as a standalone. So it is about Lucy Barton, who is a writer living in New York, and kind of looking back on her life and her family and her husband, who is the William. I really don't like the title. I find it quite twee. I don't like the cover. I know that's really superficial, but it just is not making me want to pick it up. Even though I've read Elizabeth Strout before, I did enjoy it, but not enough to make me want to pick this up. So, nah, I'm not gonna. Then we have Booth by Karen Joy Fowler, which is a historical novel, kind of reimagining the family of, what's his name? The guy that shot Lincoln. Junius Booth. American history is something I know very little about, and I'm not that bothered about learning, to be honest. it's about their family. It's historical. I mean, I like historical novels, but I'm really not drawn to this at all, and I just don't think I have the patience for it. Apparently it's quite a big novel, so no. I'm not going to read that one. Okay, so the books I am definitely going to read, let's look at my list. If I can get hold of them, The Colony, Small Things Like These, that's coming on the library reserves, and The Trees, the ones I'm definitely going to read after Sappho, Small Thing, no, I've read that one, I've mentioned that one, Nightcrawling, Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies, and Treacle Walker, which I'm very excited about. Okay, so that's me getting all excited about the Booker Prize long list, which I never usually pay any attention to. There's no way I'm going to read all of these by the time the shortlist is announced, because as you know, if you've been here any length of time, I'm a very slow reader compared to BookTube standards, and that's fine. I'm cool with it. As with the Women's Prize, where I was like, yeah, I'm going to read all of the Women's Prize. That didn't happen. They're all still behind me. I still have them to read. So I'm just going to do what I can, try and get them on audiobook and just read as many of the ones that I'm really interested in. And yes, I will report back when I have finished some. When I do finish them, I will do individual reviews, like I was going to do for the Women's Prize. So I will be speaking to you very soon when I finish Case Study by Graeme, Macrae, Burnet, because I'm bloody loving that at the moment. So I'll definitely have a review of that one coming up. Anyway, I shall see you next time for another video. I hope you're all doing okay. Talk to me in the comments below. Tell me what you're reading from the Booker Prize. Tell me if you've read any already. Not if you didn't like them, please. If you like them, yes. Tell me what you liked in the comments below. But no spoilers. We're not here for the spoilers. All right, I shall speak to you another time. Bye, everyone.